Welcome everyone to the October edition of the Cyber webinar series. I'm so glad many of you are able to join us. I have an incredible group of panelists with me today that I'll introduce here in a minute. But the title of this webinar is Launching the National K-12 Cybersecurity Learning Standards and Development Initiative. This is a major project Cyberorg is undertaking over the next year, and we're going to have a conversation about these standards and about the work and the outcome that this project is going to have. But as we dive into this topic, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that today is the first day of National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. It's a huge month in the cybersecurity industry where we're able to further raise the awareness about the importance of cybersecurity across our nation and ensuring that all Americans have the resources they need to stay safe and secure online. So we're going to talk a little bit about National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and we're going to talk about a little bit about our national set of K-12 cybersecurity standards. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our esteemed panelists. We have some great individuals, some great friends in the cybersecurity space. So I'd like to first introduce Ms. Toni Benson, who is the Deputy Associate Director for the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, and Mr. Dan Myers, the Global Manager for Palo Alto Cybersecurity Academy. And so I'd like for each of you just to take a couple of minutes to introduce yourselves and talk about what you do within your respective organizations. So Ms. Benson, I will allow you to go first.
Well, first, thank you, Kevin, and also happy New Year, what we say in the fiscal year world today, but also, National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. It's really a great opportunity to be here today. As Kevin stated, I am a Deputy Associate Director within CISA, primarily over cyber education and training. We're really just looking at what that pipeline of cyber education and training looks like, how we can kind of broaden the spectrum and the aperture of who can enter into that workforce area. Previously, before that, I've spent some time in the military, go Air Force, and I've also spent some time in the private sector and also in nonprofit. So I think I've kind of tapped every area I could tap before I made my way over to CISA. So thanks again, Kevin, for having me.
Well, and one of the fun facts about Toni is that she was actually stationed at the Air Force Base that is just right across the fence line from cyber.org, and we didn't even know each other at that point. But glad that now that she's based in DC, we have the opportunity to connect. So, Dan, you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah, happy Cybersecurity Awareness Month here, everybody. Dan Myers. I'm the Global Manager of the Palo Alto Networks Cybersecurity Academy program, and based out of Denver, Colorado. And shout out to the Air Force as well. I'm just north of the Air Force Academy, and I have to tell you that I participated in the Guinness Book of World Records of the most people who flew a paper airplane or styrofoam airplane. Was it an Air Force Academy Navy football game a couple of years ago? So don't look for my name specifically in the Guinness Book of World Records, but I was there. So I start off as a high school math and computer teacher here in down in Colorado Springs, and got into technical training, and eventually worked on the Cisco Networking Academy, the Citrix Academy, VMware Academy, now here at Palo Alto Networks Academy, Cybersecurity Academy, which we'll talk a little bit more about later on. But happy to join you guys and look forward to a great conversation.
Thanks, Dan. Well, both CISA and Palo Alto Networks are incredible partners of ours. Obviously, CISA is the funding agency behind Cyber.org and the efforts that we have. I'm sure Toni will mention some of that. I don't want to steal her thunder on that. And our industry partners, being Palo Alto Networks, is an incredible opportunity for us to showcase the jobs that students are going into. But As I mentioned, this month, October 1 starts National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And believe it or not, this is its 17th year in existence. And again, the goal for National Cybersecurity Awareness Month is to raise that awareness around cybersecurity and the importance cybersecurity plays in our nation as it relates to living, working, and playing safely in cyberspace or online. And the theme this year for National Cybersecurity Awareness Month is do your part. And I want to ask the questions to our panelists around what does it mean by do your part? And there's a hashtag. Everything's got a hashtag these days. So hashtag be cyber smart. So if you're tweeting about us on this webinar and you're watching this webinar, tweet National Cybersecurity Awareness Month kicks off. Hashtag be cyber smart. One of the questions that I want to ask Toni is, from CISA's perspective, why is National Cybersecurity Awareness Month so important? And what are some of the things that you all are emphasizing throughout the month?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Kevin. Yeah, this month is really important. And I always say anything that gets highlighted that recognizes it needs a month means it's really important, and we probably should be talking about it all the time, right? And so I think this month is a great opportunity to highlight what's going on in cybersecurity. Even more importantly, highlighting those areas of helping people really be cyber smart and cyber safe. And you talked a little bit about one of the hashtags. I think they have a little rhyme: do your part. Hashtag be cyber smart. That's gonna be coming out, within CISA. And then I believe the other one is if it connects, make sure you protect, or something to that extent. But really just trying to drive home the point that it's really important for us to look at cyber because it really touches everything that we do, right? So everything from your mobile devices now, where you have a lot of young people that are home and being taught primarily by their parents, or at least that process is going on. You have that, so you want them to understand what being secure online is. I know there's some really good videos that Cyberorg has done in partnership with CISA to make sure that we're highlighting some of that, right? Making sure that people know how to be safe online, or that OPSEC is at the forefront of what they're doing. So I think there were some good opportunities there that we've done within the agency. But primarily it's really just around awareness, right? You want to make sure people have an awareness of what cyber is, not just from the standpoint that we tend to look at it in our world is from a workforce pipeline perspective, but really just to be safe, because we're all interconnected in some type of way. And we just want to make sure that at the very basic levels, people really understand about good cyber hygiene. So I think the awareness piece is really why this month is really important to highlight cybersecurity.
Definitely. And one of the things that I love about National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and as you mentioned, Toni, there's different themes that about different focuses. And this year's themes, the first week, which is the week of October 5, which starts on Monday, is if you connect it, protect it. The week 2 theme, which is the week of October 12th, is securing devices at home and at work. And week 3, which is the week of October 19th, securing internet-connected devices in healthcare. And week 4, which is October 26th, the future of connected devices. And what I love about these themes is that it's applicable in every facet of life. When you're at home and when you have your, assistant, I won't name the virtual tools that are available today. But when you have these devices in your home that are listening to you and helping you turn your music on, or turn your lights on, or make sure that your fridge orders the gallon of milk that you need for the weekend. When these devices are in your home, we have to ensure that we are protecting those devices. We're protecting our home, and to ensuring that our personal information is not getting out. So that, to me, is one of the great things I love about this month, and the themes that have been selected is how can we secure ourselves in our daily lives. And then I love that how there's a whole week on healthcare. The very fact that everything we do, when I go to the doctor's office, it's it's not a paper chart anymore. It's, you know, it's electronic health records. So there's just so many facets on that. So Toni, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, but I would love to know, you know, the future of connected devices. What's the impetus behind that week, and what kind of things are you guys focusing on for that last week?
Well, you know, there's also something called Cyber Essentials that are being released. Right now, we're in the midst of what is known as our CISA Cyber Summit, and we're releasing these Cyber Essentials that also talk about this. But to your point, Kevin, we want to make sure that people understand, like I said, it's not just your laptop anymore. It's your refrigerator, depending on what household you live in. It's your car. And so we want to make sure that people really understand that all of this is interconnected in what we're doing, right, in our daily lives. And it's not just what we typically think of as cyber or things that need to be protected. It's so integrated into our daily lives. We really want to drive home that point that you really need to be looking at the Internet of Things and all of those connected pieces to ensure that you're being safe all the way across the board.
The Internet of Things, that's a terminology that we constantly use, and that could be a whole webinar in and of itself. The very fact that, do we really fully understand all of the things that are connected to us and aiding us in life, quote unquote. So that we could do a whole other webinar, and I won't go down that rabbit hole today. Dan, I want to point the next question to you. You know, Palo Alto Networks, specifically your Cybersecurity Academy, focuses on ensuring students have a vehicle to explore cybersecurity concepts in virtual environments. You know, take a minute to talk about how Palo Alto Networks content addresses the four themes of National Cybersecurity Awareness Month.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Just a real quick high-level overview. The Academy program itself offers free content curriculum resources for accredited academic institutions to incorporate into their degree program, their certificate programs, or however they want to use them. And we're happy to partner with Cyber.org to bring a complete K through 20 solution, as Kevin and I have been going around to multiple states around the country. But the Academy program, I love my job because I get to give stuff away for free. And it's a passion of mine and my team, because this is a great cause. As Toni was saying, and Kevin, there's such a great need for cybersecurity awareness, for protection. As a matter of fact, our tagline is protecting life in the digital age, one student at a time. That's our kind of tagline for the Academy program. And to that end, we provide free resources for youth through our Cyberaces activities for cybersecurity education for students. So you go to paloaltonetworks.com/cyberaces, all one word. We partner with Cyber.org in the development of these 16 different activities that are available for parents, for cub leaders, for teachers, to help bring cybersecurity awareness to youth ages 5 through 15-year-old. As Toni was mentioning, you know, the whole connectivity piece. Well, if we weren't connected, we wouldn't have to worry about cybersecurity, but we are connected. So what does all that mean? And these activities, these Cyberaces activities, are an opportunity for parents, teachers, and students, children, to kind of learn about what is connectivity down at that basic level, and the understanding of why we need security, and then a bunch of real neat activities to help them more secure online. And moving up from the youth resources we have, Kevin mentioned, I'm the global manager of the Palo Alto Network Cybersecurity Academy. We provide free curriculum that is skills-based. So it's hands-on. It's really tries to entice technically minded students for, you know, CTE programs at the high school level to get into careers in cybersecurity, because there's such a huge demand for talented cybersecurity professionals today, and we got to get them started young. And so our curriculum starts about the 10th grade all the way on up into higher ed, and that's why it's a great partnership with Cyber.org, because they provide the lower age group curriculum. So we do have curriculum that is online. It's built in our Moodle learning management system. You have to become an academy to get access to it. I can give you evaluation links to take a look at it. But the neat thing about it is it's got links built into the curriculum that will take a student right from the browser, a single click into a virtual lab environment, and they really get the hands-on skills development by going right to these virtual labs. And those are the two big things. We also have other resources for careers and getting students at that age level enticed into careers in cybersecurity. This is a cybersecurity career guide where we partner with Start Engineering. So we got a lot of resources. PaloAltoNetworks.com/academy, and you can even click on the free resources tab. There's a bunch of free stuff there that you guys could use as well. So it all gets at to the Cybersecurity Awareness Month and all the different topics just by providing all this free content that we have.
Definitely, and that's, you know, the important component of all of this, and specifically in the you know, in National Cybersecurity Awareness Month is to raise the attention of the importance of our connectivity. I mean, that's the point that both of you are driving home really well this afternoon is, you know, we are connected. It's 2020, right? There's so many resources, there's so many tools that are available to us. And if you look at the macro level, we're really at a pivotal point in our society where we are transitioning to this digital age. And, you know, when I was in elementary, middle school, we didn't have all of these tools at our fingertips. We didn't have Google or any kind of search engine at our fingertips or websites galore. And as we are growing up, our parents are getting asked the questions, how do I help or how do I support my student? You know, when, you know, I remember as growing up, you know, when my parents would, you know, help me with my homework. And I'll never forget the day that I brought my Algebra 1 homework home. And I said, Mom, Dad, I need help with my algebra homework. And they're like, I'm out. You're going to get a tutor because I don't know this algebra. I don't know. But think about as parents in this 21st century where all of this technology plays in, where students at the 5th grade are programming with block-based programming. They're using Scratch to do all these programming. And you go to the parents and they're like, how are you helping your students? So, you know, this connectivity and the timing of this connectivity is such an interesting and pivotal moment where we have to almost focus on a number of different components to educating the whole child. And, you know, I've always said that to educate the whole child, you have to focus on 3 parts. One is the formal education. That's what's happening inside the classroom. And that's what, you know, folks like my team at Cyberorg and Dan Myers' team at Palo Alto and the number of CISA resources that are out there that for K-12 educators, this is, you know, the important component of why we have to focus on that formal education. The second piece of that pie is the informal education. What are we doing for our students in the after-school environment, whether that's with the Boys and Girls Club, Volunteers of America, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts? We must focus on providing and ensuring that these individuals, these groups have confidence in having conversations around cybersecurity. That's why National Cybersecurity Awareness Month is a great fit for those entities and those organizations so they can, you know, learn the fundamentals of the, you know, if you connect it, protect it, securing devices at home, securing devices in healthcare, in future of connected devices. And then the third piece of that is one that's near to my heart as a new parent is what are we doing at the home? What are we doing to ensure that parents have the confidence to have conversations with their students around cybersecurity? Because it's a daunting topic. It's a scary topic sometimes, especially if you don't have a foundational understanding yourself about cybersecurity. What do you do when your kid says, I want to program? And you're like, oh my gosh, you know, how do I respond to this? Does that mean they're going to go hack something, or are they going to do ill, you know, to another computer or something? But we have to have conversations around ethics, and we have to have conversations around, you know, again, living, working, and playing in cyberspace safely. So the connectivity really has been the driving force behind our latest project, which is the cybersecurity standards. there are so many resources that are out there for K-12 educators to use. But what concepts do we begin teaching at what grade levels? That's the ultimate question that we've run across as we travel the country, or as we Zoom across the country nowadays. As we Zoom across the country, this is the question that we've been posed, and we've observed that there is a lack of a national set of standards or guidelines for teaching cybersecurity at the K-12 level, at the elementary, middle, and high school level. And so there's, we acknowledge, and Toni may be able to rattle these stats off better than I can, is, there's a tremendous workforce gap, over 500,000 jobs today. That number is going to increase in the next year to almost 1.8 million jobs that are going to be available. And so there's such a tremendous pipeline need. There's a tremendous workforce need that we have to expand. We have to ensure that all students have the opportunity to engage in some kind of cybersecurity education program. We recently did a report, a research report, and I'm going to ask Claire to potentially drop this in the chat. It's the State of Cybersecurity Education in K-12 Schools. We partnered with Ed Week on this research report, and it talks about some of the major gaps that we see in education. And one of the things that's astonishing to me is that 45% of students are currently receiving some kind of cybersecurity education. 45%. Now, some of you on here may go, well, that's almost half. That's pretty good. But let me pose this in a different way. What if 45% of our students took an American history class? Or what happens if 45% of our students took a reading class? Would that be acceptable? In the day and age that we live in today, and as we've spent the last 20 minutes talking about how our society is so connected, we have to really think about that 45% number. And the fact that access to cybersecurity education is inconsistent across the country and is skewed in a way that provides more cybersecurity education opportunities to students coming from, more socioeconomically privileged backgrounds. So the school districts who can afford standing up a cybersecurity program, the school districts who have the resources and the teachers that can support a cybersecurity education program, that to me is a tremendous gap that we have a tremendous opportunity to jump all over and solve. So in analyzing the big picture of these cybersecurity standards, we want to introduce students to this knowledge, to these skills, to these abilities, and to the opportunities that exist. When I was in the classroom, I would always ask my students, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I got all the answers: doctor, lawyer, veterinarian, police officer, fighter pilot. Being from Louisiana, they always said, Mr. Knowlton, I want to be Drew Brees. And it's like, well, okay, well, we can all be Drew Brees. But one student raised their hand, though, and said, Mr. Knowlton, how can you expect me to tell you what I want to be when I grow up when I don't know what all the options are? So what are we doing in those regions, in those cybersecurity deserts, as I like to call it? Those cybersecurity deserts are the areas that have no cybersecurity industry, have no cybersecurity education program. And so what are we doing to ensure that those cybersecurity standards are what those cybersecurity standards or cybersecurity education programs, how can we get those in the hands of those students in those cybersecurity deserts? So that's the big picture. Cybersecurity standards are going to remove the roadblocks for educators to begin teaching the next generation cyber literate workforce. The fact that these cybersecurity standards will be able to focus in on ensuring that English, math, science, social studies teachers can all embed cybersecurity components into that classroom is tremendous. So with all that being said, I want to ask a couple of questions to the panelists, but I also want to see if there are any questions from the audience. Obviously, we want to ensure that these panelists or these members in the audience, attendees here, have an opportunity to ask questions. So Claire's telling me we have a question from Kenneth. I have seen what comment from Kenneth, I'm sorry. I have seen what young students can do and think they are more capable of what most adults think. That is, Kenneth, I mean, that to me is an excellent comment, being able to really push those students. So I don't know, Toni, Dan, do you have a comment on what Kenneth's comment?
I can start, Dan. Yeah, I'll say this. Case in point on that one is that, I have quite a few nephews and nieces, and one of my nephews, I was trying to figure something out. It was something I couldn't figure out on YouTube or something. And he whips in and he literally does it in, I don't know, 5 seconds, faster than I can think of. He was like, "What do you do for a living again? Didn't you tell me you were in cyber?" And I was like, "Hey guy, look, I'm some days removed from the keyboard, right? But yes, I am in cyber, but it's just to that point, they really do have an aptitude, and they really kind of were born with these devices in their hand almost. So I think there's a lot that we can learn from this next generation, and I think we will. We just need to make sure we equip them early. Dan, over to you.
Yeah, I'm reading in the chat window Kenneth's comment here about teaching cybersecurity, ethical hacking. There's so many career opportunities and options outside of coding. So one thing, take a look at it, code.org is a great website for teaching the students the coding aspect of it. The resources in my academy program is about protecting and defending networks. But then there's the automotive engineer that needs to know how to design a car, driverless cars and cybersecurity there. So there's so many different areas of cyber to go into. Certainly coding is a big aspect to that. But one thing I'd encourage folks in the call is to provide opportunity for your students to understand the broader context of careers in cybersecurity, and there are all kind of resources available to do that as well.
That's a great point, Dan. The very thing that I think, and to Kenneth's point is, I don't think we feel comfortable as educators pushing our students in an area that we're not comfortable in. So what is the level in which, the rigor in which we need to be teaching at the different grade levels? And to Kenneth's point, I think that's where we want to ensure that these cybersecurity standards are providing that guidance for educators to know, okay, at the 3rd grade, what are my students really and truly capable of? At the 6th grade, at the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, and what do I need my students at high school graduating with to go and pursue a cybersecurity career, or just to be a cyber literate citizen, no matter what industry you're going into. So I think that, to me, is one of the driving forces and driving factors behind this cybersecurity standard. So, Dan, I want to point to you on this next question. That unless we have any other questions from the audience, and so please, attendees, type in your questions in the chat. We'll get to them for sure. But the question here for Dan is, why is it important that standards are nationally available from your perspective?
Wow. I just like some of these statewide initiatives, Kevin, that you and I have been working on, is just seeing either individual schools in some cases that have been leads in getting into cybersecurity and plowing through and coming up with their own quote unquote standards, or these statewide initiatives where each state is trying to come up with their own way of doing things. So the importance of having a national standard, like any other standards for math or anything else, it gives that consistency. It allows experts to help define that set of standards that are related to the skills that they need, in this case here, to protect themselves, the cybersecurity awareness, and then also their career skills. So you got to have that national standard so that we're all driving toward the same learning outcomes. And I'm going to add one more thing here too, and that is this has become a national security issue. There's all these schools and districts and states out there still kind of doing their own thing, trying to figure it out, or trying to be the first to do it, where we really need to step back and pool all those resources together, that expertise, and develop these standards from a national security standpoint to educate a workforce and citizens so that we're all being protected.
Yeah, that's a great point. Toni, same question to you. You know, why is it important?
I 100% agree with everything Dan said, and you as well, Kevin. And Kevin, I think I got this from you. You know, once you've seen one state, you've seen one state. And really, it might even be a district. I mean, you might even have broken that down to the school district, you know, and those lack of standards really do not, or not having those standards really, again, like they said, you're driving to different educational goals and objectives, right? And so, you know, we map all of our training to the NICE cybersecurity framework, which I think NICE will even say it's not necessarily perfect, but it's a starting point, right? It's a starting point to have that conversation. And as they continue to update and understand what the different needs are, that's something that's helpful for us. I know, Kevin, you know, we've talked about some partnership with cyber.org. I think another thing that's important here when we talk about standards is, in the 45% that you were saying have some level of exposure, is that, again, yeah, that's unacceptable in any other area, right? And in an area where that's so prevalent in everything that we do, and we're so outpaced by our adversaries, it's something that we definitely have to look at incorporating into those core pillars of what's being taught in school. And also ensuring that we're leveling the playing field, right? And that across the board, even those communities who may not be resourced as well have the opportunity to teach their students with the same level of rigor and the same level of, I guess, capabilities and tools to be able to do so. I know that we've talked a little bit about, you know, some of our future goals with cyber.org to really target those communities and understand what the need is and making sure that we're supplying those resources. I think that just has to be looked at from a holistic standpoint. How do we get the resources in the hands of the people that need them? You know, we've touted a couple of times, but, you know, cyber.org has done a great work with getting, you know, the curriculum, getting cybersecurity curriculum in the hands of teachers, right? But you've also done a great job of how do we get those things outside of the classroom and build those standards into them. So those cyber competitions and things like that. And I think it's a full spectrum thing, but I think that it's really good to have something to measure yourself against. I know Dan spoke a little bit about the skills and abilities portion of the KSAs, right? We spend a lot of time in school talking about the knowledge portions of things, but we really have to make sure people have the aptitude and actually have the hands-on experience. What we found in a lot of research that we've done is that people go into the workforce out of college or whatever, and they have all the knowledge, right? And they understand conceptually, but they've never hands-on ever done any of this stuff. So, you know, cyber ranges and capture the flags and things like that, we have to expose our next generation to those things very early on, and, you know, at the level that's appropriate, right? We're not expecting necessarily reverse malware engineering in the third grade, you know what I mean? Or in kindergarten, but can we start to teach those concepts so that they know they exist? I know for us, you know, for the federal government, we're really looking at, and within CISA specifically, how can we help outfit our workforce in a way that we can open the aperture of who's coming in, right? Do you really need a degree? Are there other ways to get those skills and abilities? Are we creating pathways to ensure people can do that? Maybe people can't afford a 4-year college and university. So what are some alternative paths to get into cyber? And so there's nothing wrong. I mean, I did a 4-year degree and came that path, but I think that we have to open up the aperture of how we get people into the workforce and really looking at what's really required for people to get into cybersecurity. And I think setting the standards early on for education will help us kind of map out what that workforce picture looks like as well.
Definitely. There's so many great points that have just gotten up by both Toni and Dan. And, you know, I kind of want to just put a wrapper on a couple of things that you both mentioned. You know, Dan, you said that there are several models out there. I mean, we do have states who are kind of doing their own thing, kind of being the pioneers, the North Dakotas, the Virginias, the Texas. And what we want to do is in the standards process is to bring together representatives from those groups and those entities to identify those best practices and to leverage their experiences into this. And equally important is that nice workforce framework, Toni, that you mentioned. You know, that's going to be the foundation for some of the things that we're going to write towards, is tying in that workforce framework and the work roles that are embedded into that, into the standards, to ensure that K-12 educators feel comfortable, you know, operating and utilizing that great resource that NICE put together. And you know, and I'm looking at the chat, and I think Keith is looking at my notes, because that's the very point that I'm going to bring up, is about, you know, Keith's comment, you know, in grades K through 8 is most important that this is not one more thing for teachers to do. And Keith, I couldn't agree with you more. The outcome for these standards is really threefold. And we're going to provide teachers, rather states, with an opportunity for 3 opportunities to adopt these standards. One is wholesale adoption. If a state wants to, you know, stand up a full set of K-12 cybersecurity standards, that state can absolutely do so. We're going to have a library of standards that can meet that need. The second piece of it is to have these standards integrate and tie into existing computer science standards within that state. You know, we don't want to divorce CS, computer science, and cybersecurity. I think they are different. However, they're so closely intertwined and complementary for each other. So integration into computer science standards. And the third piece of this, and this is a unique perspective, a unique you know, direction on this, but we want to integrate cybersecurity standards into existing core subjects. So if a state is going to revamp their math standards or their science standards or ELA or social studies standards, we want to ensure that they have a library or a playbook of standards that they can take 1 or 2 and embed it into that English language arts classroom, that social studies, math, science classroom. The integration component of cybersecurity is critical. Because think about it this way, when we look at ensuring that we have a gender diverse workforce in cybersecurity, a racially diverse workforce in cybersecurity, we have to think about, how do we do that? Is it providing an elective class that only a limited amount of students can take, or packing on another class into a busy school day where, you know, not everybody has the opportunity to, in the time in their school day to take? That's not how we do this. That's not the solution. The solution is integrating these concepts into courses that every student takes. So our focus at the elementary and middle school level is to ensure that we are embedding and integrating cybersecurity into the science classroom, because every student needs to take science. And if we can begin introducing science concepts to students through the lens and a context or a relevancy of cybersecurity, that's when we place that seed of opportunity in that student's mind. That's when we begin to ensure that that student has an awareness of what a cyber forensics expert can do, or a data analytics specialist can do. What does a computer program, a software developer do? These are all job roles that we need to introduce to students. Like I mentioned earlier, that student says, how can you expect me to tell you what I want to be when I grow up, when I don't know what all the options are? By ensuring that we are embedding and integrating these concepts into core classes, that's how we begin solving the nation's workforce shortage. That's how we begin ensuring that we have a gender and racially diverse workforce that's going into this industry. That is how we ensure that schools in low socioeconomic areas are getting introduced to cybersecurity. Our professional development model has proven, through COVID, as we've gone virtually, has proven to be hugely successful in those rural communities, where over 68% of the teachers who participated in our professional development over the past 6 months have been from Title I schools. Those are schools from underperforming, or rather low socioeconomic areas. Our technology package giveaways, the technology that we give away to school districts, 71% of our packages went to Title I schools. That's how we begin solving the problem, ensuring that we are investing in providing these resources to those Title I schools, those low income schools, those rural communities, and by us ensuring that the standards are going in and ensuring that every student taking science, taking math, taking ELA has some kind of opportunity for cybersecurity awareness. So the next question, I don't know if there's any more questions teed up. Looks like we do have one question from our friend Tabitha. Are there plans in the works for an even bigger push to citizen-focused education for cybersecurity? So many parents are being asked to assist in students without preparation. So I don't know, Toni or Dan, either one of you want to take a stab at Tab's question?
I read that, and I put my note underneath in the chat window, but here's some free resources, which I mentioned earlier. But Cyberaces, the first option in my paragraph there in the chat window, aims to do just that. We recognize that, let me back up. Palo Alto Networks, the company I work for, our employees were asking, hey, we work for the world's largest cybersecurity company. We go home around the dinner table and we talk to our kids, but we don't know what to tell them about cybersecurity, have any resources or anything to teach them or even ourselves. So Cyberaces, which again, we partner with cyber.org to develop, was born out of that need there. Parents asking for some stuff. So if that's what you're referring to by citizen-based education, I agree. We've got to do stuff from the ground up and the bottom down and develop standards for nationwide education and all of it. And I don't think there's a lot of resources that specifically have been created for, in this case, parents working with their children who are home because of COVID. Encourage it again, take a look at those 16 Cyberaces activities that are great. The facilitator does not have to have a background in IT or cybersecurity, and the activities are easy to facilitate. That's one example. I'm sure there are others that are out there, but it's a great point. We need to have more of it being developed, especially in the time period where we're in today.
Yeah, Kevin, I'm sorry, Dan, I agree, and Kevin can attest to this and probably knows more than I know, but cyber.org has a ton of resources too that they've worked with us as well. I mentioned the videos earlier, which really speaks to kind of the COVID times and where we're at right now, and making sure that, from an OPSEC perspective and just general cyber hygiene, some of the things you can do, and you'd be amazed at how simple a lot of the things are that you can do that you just don't really think about because you're not thinking about it being malicious, right, on the internet, right? So I think those resources out there, and then there's other resources that are out there that some of them are for teachers, but I've looked at some of them, and some of those things are home things that can actually be done as well. And so it just takes a little bit of creativity, and trust me, I'm sure in times where the kids are home a whole lot more, it's probably a great time to give them some kind of projects to do and things like that. So I think there's a ton of resources out there that can help educate the parents and also kind of enlighten the children as well that are not necessarily classroom based.
Yeah, definitely. Those are both great points. And, the digital citizenship, that kind of comes to mind, as a focus of ensuring that our citizens, our future workforce, our students have a foundational understanding of how to live, work, and play in cyberspace. I know that's kind of a term that I keep reiterating here, but that's what we have to focus on, is how can our students live, work, and play in cyberspace safely and ethically. And so that's kind of the point that we're going to drive home. And actually, these cybersecurity standards are going to have two pathways almost. One pathway is going to be more of a cybersecurity awareness. What are the foundational skills that a student needs to know about cybersecurity? don't click on an email that, is a phishing attempt. Don't open an attachment that could contain malware. So these are the foundational things that we're going to be focusing on, like passwords and, password strength. So those things, but there's also going to be a pathway about the technical skills that a student needs to know to go after a cybersecurity degree or go after an industry-based certification that will lead them to a job. So these are the two pathways that we're going to be focusing on with this cybersecurity standards project, and to ensuring that every student is cyber literate and every student is a responsible digital citizen of our country. So, the last question that I want to pose to both of you as we're coming up on time is the same question. But, what is an example, of personally where there's been a direct impact of a K-12 experience on the trajectory of a cybersecurity professional's career? And Toni, I don't know if you want to take a first stab at that question.
Sure thing, Kevin. Well, Kevin and his team actually afforded me an opportunity to meet two young ladies that when I came down to Bossier, my re-entrance back into Bossier, I guess, they introduced me to two young ladies that had actually experience with some of the curriculum that they had provided to some of the schools and were incorporated into some of their summer camps and things like that. So I met those two young ladies, but personally in my own life, I've actually, done a lot of mentoring, and I highly encourage, everyone that has some connection to cybersecurity to really, or cyber just in general, to really go out and mentor. I've mentored through my sorority, I've mentored through just relationships that I've made over the years. And I think that mentor piece is really key, because it gives you an opportunity to kind of meet people where they are on a personalized level. And when we were talking about standards and things like that, I've actually used the NICE cybersecurity framework standards to help people build out their resumes. So, hey, these are the types of courses when you're looking at what school you should go to, if that's your track and your route, you really should look at schools that really address these areas, if this is the type of professional you're trying to be. So, really being creative and really thinking about it. We have a career pathways tool on our NICS website that we just put out, but it really can help you track and map your career. So I think for me, I've mentored quite a few young ladies some have come into the space, some are still in progress, but I think kind of showing them the different tools that are out there, helping them build their resumes and helping them really kind of define what they want their careers to look like, just because cyber is so big. And it can be overwhelming. And so kind of helping people pinpoint, I think some of those tools that are out there really help people be able to achieve that.
That's great. Dan?
Yeah, as I mentioned at the top of the call, I'm the global manager of the Cybersecurity Academy program. We piloted last academic year our new courses for the high school level, and it starts at the 10th grade. That's why we have such a great partnership again with cyber.org. So no specific student kind of pops into mind. So I'm going to broaden it a little bit and talk about British Columbia actually is where we started a pilot, and they were interested in the two things we've been talking about: building cybersecurity awareness and cybersecurity career awareness and cybersecurity skills development, because they wanted to, what I'm about to say, it was province-wide, but you could also personalize it for an individual. They wanted to make sure that their citizens in the province were cyber literate. They knew how to protect themselves online, and they wanted to provide the opportunity for the students to understand the different careers that are available in cybersecurity. Coding, as we talked about earlier, is kind of the natural one that people think cybersecurity, they think coding, but there's so many more careers that are available. So how can we broaden the career opportunities for students and let them know what's available? And then the skills development piece. Why? Because British Columbia, they wanted to build the cyber capacity for their entire province. So real literate citizenship, knew about cybersecurity, and they had skills to work for the companies that are in that province. And again, you could personalize this to on one individual, that they want to be aware, they want to explore careers, and they want to have the skills to perhaps get a job in cybersecurity and remain within the town or the county or state or country where they live. So that was the goal that they had. Again, awareness, career awareness, build that cyber capacity and the skills, and retain that talent with province. And that's what, as a global manager, I'm starting to see more and more in individual states and countries around the world, but it's also applicable at the personal level as well. Awareness, career awareness, skills development, great jobs, and you feel good about it because you're in a great career to help protect you, your family, or the country. So a lot of good stuff going on.
Thanks for both of you on sharing that. That's just inspiring to the young folks, inspiring to our students, and inspiring for teachers to ensure that they can have the confidence to start having these conversations with their students. So just to kind of wrap things up, we are super excited that it is National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. If you have not signed up for the Cyber.org Cyber.org newsletter, we have a newsletter coming out tomorrow that has all the cybersecurity Awareness Month resources on there. So go to our website, cyber.org, sign up for that newsletter. And we are tremendously also excited about the fact that we've got national cybersecurity standards coming up. And the committee will meet, the writing committee. We have representation from 22 states, writers from 22 states. Texas, Louisiana, Missouri, Nevada, Virginia, Arkansas, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Georgia, Florida, North Dakota, Arkansas, Colorado, North Carolina, Iowa, Delaware, Oregon, Massachusetts, Arizona, Alabama, California, and last but not least, New Mexico. 22 states that are representing with these writers from K-12 educators from elementary, middle, and high school. They're meeting October 27th through the 29th to begin that work. And we hope through a series of writing sessions and review sessions that we will have a national set of standards ready to be published by summer of 2021. So without further ado, I want to thank our panelists, Toni and Dan, for an amazing conversation this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. Attendees, thank you for listening over this 45, 50 minutes. And should you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to info@cyber.org. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on our next Cyber Ed webinar series.